Model 5.
The 5. So for this module, we are going to see some recipe how to start an application. So we are mainly talking about mobile application here. And we have different kind of application on mobile phone, and there are three main kind of application. We are going to see which template you should use for your application. The first one is the easiest one, the single main screen. For example, a PDF reader. A PDF reader, you just open a PDF and you have button to change the page. But the structure of your screen is always the same. Okay? It's the same example, but in a more simple way. How to do this?
By the way, designers here, how many of you think that visual example is dead wrong for a PDF reader? Okay. Buttons and to slide the page.
So that's the PDF reader in the code. Yeah, pretty bad. Okay. How to do this? Well, the structure of your application is mainly one file, a main file. Because all the items are on the screen and they don't really change. Okay? So of course, you have some buttons here, so you can use some components. But your application is done in one file, a main file. That's the first kind of application. A slightly different application, but still single main screen, is an application with a login page. Like this one, Twitter feed. So we have the same, the crappy version here. Same thing, one main file. And in this file, what you are going to see is two items. Those two items are the login screen and the main screen. And to go from one screen to the other, you are going to play on the opacity. So for example, when I log in, you can see there's an animation on the opacity. And when I log out,
fade in, fade out.
Yeah, I was looking for the name. Yeah, thank you. Fade in, fade out. So what's that? It's basically a single screen application, but with just the login page and the fade in, fade out. And if you look at the code, I won't display all the code, but at the beginning, the opacity is 0 for the main screen, and there's a behavior on opacity. And when you log in, you are going to change the opacity here to 1. And you change the opacity of the login page to 0. So that's the first kind of application, single screen application. The second kind of application is the fixed main menu application. And I'm not going to talk about those slides because they are totally wrong. I'm going to take another example. Well, this one is not so wrong. You can see at the bottom you have a fixed menu, right? At the top also. And you have different screens in the middle of your application. Okay? all the screens here are the same, but you can have totally different structure for the inner screens in your application. How would you do this? So I'm going to take an example which is in Qt, actually. So that's this example. So at the bottom you have the main menu, and here you have different screens. And when I click on one screen, I go to the other one. On one button, sorry, I go to the other one. In your main QML file, you are going to put the fixed menu with a button. And you are going to use a list view here for the inner screen. And what kind of model are you going to use for this list view? It's a special kind of model named visual item model. Visual item model is a model where every item is the data, but also the delegate. So you don't set a delegate for the view. The delegate is already in the model. And you can have one different delegate for each item. So you have your list view, you have the visual item model, and every screen in your application is going to be another QML file. And you'll basically add it to your visual item model. So if we look at the code here, that's the visual item model, and every screen here is here. This rectangle is one screen. So it should go in another file, but it's really easy. Let me show you another example, which is also in Qt. Oh, sorry. Same thing. At the bottom, you have a fixed menu, and you have different screens. And you can change them by clicking here. And you can see the screens are totally different from one to the other. So this one is the same game. This one is a bouncing ball, and this one is a clock.
My clock.
Your clock, okay. And it's the template for this application is exactly this. So you have a main QML file. In the main QML file, you have the menu, and you have a list view and a visual item model. And every screen are different QML file. And the nice thing is that you have also all the gesture already working. So if you swap here, you can use it. And the last kind of application you can do in QML, it's the most complex one. It's the application with multiple screens. So you don't have anything in common between the different screens. And most of the time, in this case, you'll have a home screen. Okay? So an example here, maybe it's the one on the Nokia, I don't know. It's a media player. So, yes?
Okay, sorry.
Is it the one on?
No.
No? Okay.
From the Brazilian dudes.
So it's a media player. You have an home screen here where you can choose audio, video, or pictures. And whenever you choose one menu, you have a different thing. So this one is for audio, the other one for pictures, and the other one for video. Totally different structure. I really like this slide because I think there's an error. So you have a home menu, and you can see you have 3 times the same thing at the bottom. And that's the crappy version of this application here. You have your menu with 3 buttons, and for each button, you have a different screen with a back to go back there. Okay, it's mostly the same, but you have the idea.
In theory, it should be different things, but they are different files there. Yeah. That's the main thing.
How would you do this? Well, you create one QML file per screen. So you have a home.qml file, a screen1.qml, etc., etc., etc. And then you create a main QML file. In this main QML file, you have 2 things. The first one, here at the bottom, it's the home screen. And the second one, is an element we didn't see so far. It's the loader element. The loader element is a particular kind of element which load on demand a screen. Which means that when you go on a screen, you load the screen in memory, and then you display it. When you go back on and click on another screen, you are going to release the first screen from memory and then load the other one. So at any time, you only have 2 screens in memory, the home screen and the screen you are looking at. And to do the transition between the 2 screens, well, you can use the opacity like the login application we have seen, the Twitter application. So that's it.
So I think one might ask, the designers here might ask, why should I care about any of this? Let me tell a little experience on the thing. We've done a couple of projects using QML and Qt-Quick, and usually it goes something like this. We'll first create a mock-up application, mostly looking final, something really ugly, code-wise that I did, with several features missing. And I'll point to the client. Well, all of those features are missing. Here's the path you should take in order to see the application. And this is very much like a Flash thing. It's just an example sent to the client, and fine. And probably I will use nothing of this. I'll statically create those screens. All of them are available. I'll just put them on using states or something like this. But it's very good. But then we'll move into another stage where we actually do the application. So I'll pass this to developers, and they will say, what the hell do you want me to do with that? Because it's a mess. And then they will break things down into small bits. And this is very useful, and I've learned this with experience, because I still want to be a part of the process. I want to do all of the fine UI bits that are missing, and I didn't make it in the first place. And having small sub-applications that, okay, no, this is not, sorry.
No, that's not
sub-applications, sub-QML files that developers can tell me, okay, no, stop. I'm not doing any more of this small area. Here we go. And they send it to me. So there's this entire feature, this entire sub-screen that now needs to be done. Now I'll do it. Also ugly code. But now it's perfect and complete and looks exactly like I wanted. Send it back to the developer, and he merges it, makes it work inside the code. Actually, it's already working inside the code because you can test it while you're practicing on it. But then you send it back and you fix the code. But it's a really good way of breaking the application into small bits so that you can keep the designers inside the project and keeping on reflowing and refactoring the application. Works really well with experience on doing it.
Another thing we have seen when using QML for complex projects is that it's really difficult to keep the application logic inside QML. So what we do generally is to use QML only for UI and animation and to have all the application logic in C++. And even we had a really complex application with 100 screens and a really complex state machine. We moved the state machine from QML to C++ because it was easier for us to maintain it.
Yeah, this maybe is interesting. The logic part, I keep it as simple as one of the applications we were doing. We had several screens, and one of them was a calculator. So for me to try it, I still had to, maybe I didn't add to, but I had to put the screen working and doing the plus math. So I did that because I wanted to try, but I kept the logic to a bare minimum, and just for me to get a feeling of the application. I think it was in the end implemented. The calculator machine was in C++. Works fine. And now it looks fine as well.
Another thing when you create an application is that you can use modules. So we have already talked about component. So you extract a component and put it in another file. With module, you are going to create some reusable component, and you can also version them. So you can have a 1.0 version, a 1.1 version, etc., etc. Well, you know it exists. You can look at the documentation. Let's take a small example. You have this to do. First thing, what kind of application it is? Is it home screen with multiple screen application? Anybody? No? Yes? Is it the single screen application? Everybody? Yes? No? Is it the fixed menu application? Who is sleeping? For this, I would use the single screen application. Why? Because the structure of your screen is not changing. So even if you click on another feed here, you still have a list view there. Okay? The menu is always here. So I would use a single screen application. Now that you know how to start, the second thing you have to do is to extract the different components from this application. And well, there's a kind of line edit where I can add a feed. Let's put it in another file. And then Nuno can work on it and tweak it exactly like he wants. There's a list view with a list of the feeds on the left. So we need what? We need a model, RSS feeds.qml, and we need a delegate. On the right, there's another list view. So list view, model, delegate. And we have this scroll bar there. Well, we can put it in another file. And we can even share the scroll bar between the two list views. So you understand the process. First, choose the kind of application you are going to do, then extract the different components, and finally, you have to code. And this can be done before the design process. Well, you can come with a wireframe here.
Yeah, It could start with a wireframe. It depends.
You can come with a wireframe, we can discuss it, and then you can start doing some of the designer thing.
Depends on the client.
Do you have any question on this
module?
Of course, you also have to avoid spaghetti code.
Blah, blah, blah.
Copy and paste is not a good design pattern, etc., etc., etc. You all know that.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I have a question here.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I have no experience in Qt Quick development, but is it easy to debug?
Oh,
Sorry.
debugging.
Debugging. Sales pitch.
So you have some kind of check when you run your QML file. You have an error log you can look at, and you have a debugger in Qt Creator for QML. But the debugger is debugging what? It's debugging JavaScript. So you can put breakpoint inside JavaScript, but you are not going to put breakpoint on declarative code. For example, here, I'm not going to put a breakpoint. I can put a breakpoint, but it's doing nothing. But you can put a breakpoint inside the unclicked because you are inside some JavaScript. Now, at KDAB, we have developed a small application to do some introspection inside our QML application. And basically, it's an application that lets you display the tree of items in your application, that lets you display the item by using a small square.
It's on display, by the way, on our booth.
You can see the state machine, etc., etc. It is named Gamma Ray, and it's available for free on GitHub.
Okay. What's it called again?
Gamma Ray.
Okay, original name was endoscope. Then they asked me to do an icon for an endoscope. Have you ever seen an endoscope? And being scary, we decided that it wasn't a good name for an application.
So it's available on our booth, and you can ask people. It's also available on GitHub.
You type the name?
Yes, we will do a small break right now, and I'll type the name. Okay.